to sound. There's a space and there's a time for your truth to come around. No matter where you're standing, no matter who you are, your voice can cross the distance, it can travel near and far. This is your clarion call. Let it rise, let it fall. Every word, every view, there's a place here for you. From the silence, break away. Let your voice lead the way. Hear it echo through it all. This is your clarion call. Different minds and different dreams, all are welcome on the line. Every shade and in between, every truth we redefine. You can laugh, you can debate, you can question what you see. It's a moment to create what a shared world could be. No need for hesitation, just pick up and be heard. In every conversation, there's power in a word. This is your clarion call. Let it rise, let it fall. Every word, every view, there's a place here for you. From the silence, break away. Let your voice lead the way. Hear it echo through it all. This is your clarion call. Across the airwaves, hearts align. Different rhythms, same design. In the noise, the truth appears, carried through 1,000 years. Speak your mind, don't hold it in. Every ending can begin. Turn the dial, take the chance. Join the ever-changing dance. This is your clarion call. Stand up proud, stand up tall. Every voice, loud or small, still can answer the call. Let the moment carry on. From the dusk into the dawn, hear it echo through it all. This is your clarion call. So when the afternoon is near and you've got something to say, know there's someone who will hear, just a call away.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. Please come on in, like the live, tell a friend to come on over. This is your clarion call this afternoon. I hope that you're all doing well. It is the 2nd of June 2026. And my, already things are heating up, not just physically, but things are heating up in Jamaica. When you look at it, we have quite an exciting time to experience, possibly in Parliament today. Yes, today Parliament is happening. As we speak, I believe Mr. Andrew Wheatley is presenting. I don't have an interest in hearing that. So we may hop over to Parliament once one of our own opposition members do their sectoral debate. I believe we do expect Dr. Dayton Campbell today and Mr. Christopher Brown. I believe tomorrow we expect to see Peter Bunting. I believe we have a few others. So we're excited, aren't we? Today we're expecting the tabling of the FLA report. Let's see what will happen, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Donna, I was over there. I typed in the chat over there that because they were taking very long to start the stream. They took very long to start Parliament, and I said in the chat, I wonder if they're planning how to not table the FLA report today. But let's see what will take place. I won't hold my breath, as one of my viewers said. I should not hold my breath, but I am expecting, ladies and gentlemen, the opposition though to take a firm stand in Parliament. That I do expect. Anything else would be rather disappointing, but I expect the opposition to stand their ground today in Parliament. Let us kickstart our show though. We're gonna definitely talk about a few matters, and as soon as the opposition starts their presentation, we're gonna hop over to Parliament. Let me know where you're viewing from, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. The big conversation that is happening in Jamaica right now. Why is the warship here? Why this goodwill tour seems to be showing military might? The timing, it doesn't seem very coincidental to me. Mountain View, Yukon, Canada, New York, East Portland, Blessings, Kingston 20, Southfield, St. Elizabeth, Upstate New York, Maple, Clarendon, Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, London, UK in the building. Come on, blessings. East Portland again, you know the thing go. Listowel, Ontario, Canada. Blessings to you. UK, Birmingham, Toronto, Canada, none such. East Portland. Somebody saying the cabinet met Monday. They made a decision not to table the FLA report today. Well, we'll see. Brooklyn, Crooked River, Clarendon, Seaview, Kingston 11. Blessings, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to like up the live. Greendale, Spanish Town, South St. Catherine, Maryland, West Hartford, Connecticut, and many others. I'm pretty sure will be coming on. Come on in. New York, Angela Hoylett. Blessings. Donna, your name I go call. Donna, blessings. Yvonne Riley, Marshy, Jaws, Janet Clark, Carol Banton from Silo, St. Elizabeth, Paulette, Lorna, and the entire Perspective family, those on Clarion Call this afternoon. Blessings to you. It's love all the time. The word is always love. Well, why is the warship in Jamaica? Why is the United States flexing their military muscles while the Cuban government, they are tense? I don't know. Is this coincidence? I think not. At least I don't believe that is so. Something tells me that an invasion is probable. Something is not right, ladies and gentlemen. Don't tell me that it is coincidence. Goodwill tour doesn't seem right to me. Doesn't seem right to me, ladies and gentlemen. TVJ News got some coverage based on the ship that is in the Kingston Harbor. And I want to play this video and I want you all to tell me what is expected here. It is so sad though when you think about it. Jamaica has truly sold out our Caribbean neighbor, you know. It is so sad. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
It's in all its glory, docked in the Kingston Harbor at the Kingston Freeport Terminal on Monday. It's one of the largest aircraft carriers in the world, 1,092 feet long, 252 feet wide, and its height 244 feet.
It's about the height of a 23-story building. We displaced 97,000 tons, and we have 2 nuclear reactors that we use to propel this ship. We are one of the fastest ships in the Navy. Even though this ship is so huge, it's so much bigger than every other ship that we have, it's actually one of the fastest in the Navy. We can go 30-plus knots while underway. That's incredibly fast.
The USS Nimitz is 51 years old, first commissioned in 1975 and scheduled to be decommissioned in 2027. On the flight deck, a display of military might, reality, not the movies.
The flight deck here on the USS Nimitz is usually abuzz with activities. This aircraft behind me is actually an F-18, capable of launching bombs and missiles. And here on the flight deck, 1 aircraft can be launched every 2 minutes.
Here at Flight Deck Control, the Ouija board shows the full layout of what's on the flight deck. There's also a digital version.
Since news broke that the USS Nimitz was coming to Jamaica, there have been many questions. People have been talking about the timing, and people are trying to figure out why is it that the vessel is here in Jamaica.
The visit of the aircraft carrier comes days after former Cuban President Raul Castro was indicted in the United States on charges of conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals during a fatal attack on 2 planes in 1996. The presence of the USS Nimitz also comes at a time when the U.S. administration has intensified pressure on the Cuban regime. The issue was put to U.S. Charge d'Affaires Scott Renner.
This visit comes at a time when we see that the U.S. has increased its military presence in the Caribbean. There are concerns about that. Should Jamaica and the wider Caribbean region be concerned?
Really, what the Nimitz is here for today, and it'll be here all week, is really that collaboration and cooperation. It's really about those ties to Jamaica. And for example, the sailors, part of what they'll be doing here, besides experiencing Jamaican hospitality, is they'll be going out to schools, doing repairs at schools. They'll be engaging with football players and sports teams, and a lot of community projects as well.
So no need to fear the increased military presence in the Caribbean?
What the Nimitz is here for, really, is that working with Jamaica. It's about Jamaica this week.
So given the speculation and talks about Cuba, what about the perception of Jamaica? We spoke to Cabinet Minister Senator Aubin Hill.
One of the things I know that the talk that you hear is probably uninformed. What I am telling you, I'm here as the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce to greet one of the United States' most important fleet, because the Nimitz is the head of a seven-ship fleet. And I know the Nimitz from I lived and worked in the Middle East.
Sources tell TVJ News that the timing of the visit of the aircraft carrier is just mere coincidence. They agree there are concerns about Cuba and the U.S. wants a change in the Cuban regime. However, the visit by the Nimitz is part of a goodwill tour.
It is a signal that freedom of the seas is non-negotiable. We view our security, our stability, and our prosperity as being intricately tied to yours. Together, we remain committed to confronting shared challenges, including transnational criminal organizations and regional instability. We are also committed to work together to support regional initiatives such as the Counter Cartel Coalition and the Gang Suppression Force in Haiti.
The USS Nimitz carried over 4,000 sailors, some of whom have already left the ship to experience Jamaica's culture. It's the final stop of the Southern Seas 2026 deployment and is described as a symbol of the long-standing relationship between Jamaica and the United States. The aircraft carrier will remain at the port of Kingston until June 5. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Aim. Sakata. We are mash up, fire under the Holy Ghost. Every crisis, every condition, every operation of hell. Fire, Bishop. I got your back, fire. Jesus Christ, watch the operation. Jesus Christ, this footpath road, come on. Cover your pastor. Going, Bishop. Take down the Illuminati. Take down the voodoo. Take down the Freemason. Take down the witches. Take down the warlock. Take down the Wabiaism. Him under the Holy Ghost, left him.
Is this a show of force by the United States of America in the Caribbean? I don't believe in coincidences. And if people are going to tell me that this is a mere coincidence, you, my friend, you are also blind. You have been trapped by the system. You have been deceived. The Bible says that strong delusion will be upon the people, that they themselves will believe a lie. What did the Bible say? How could you, 2 Thessalonians 2:11, and for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. You mean to tell me that at a time where tensions are sky high between the United States and Cuba, that the United States and their military presence so happen to wash up on our shores, touring our island, so close to Cuba? It is all a coincidence, right? You mean to tell me that what the man, you heard what the man said at the latter part of the video? That it is a regional fight against the cartel. Didn't you hear the mandate? The man revealed to, listen, even the interview with the guy, he couldn't even say, he stuttered. Listen to the questions that were asked.
Of the USS Nimitz also comes at a time when the U.S. administration has intensified pressure on the Cuban regime. The issue was put to U.S. Charge d'Affaires Scott Renner.
This visit comes at a time when we see that the U.S. has increased its military presence in the Caribbean. There are concerns about that. Should Jamaica and the wider Caribbean region be concerned?
Really, what the Nimitz is here for today, and it'll be here all week, is really that collaboration and cooperation. It's really about
what collaboration and what corporate. Somebody said my camera is blurred. Hold on. Is the camera better now? Is the camera better? What collaboration and what cooperation and what? What is the collaboration and the cooperation about? Oh, the lines are from the light. It's the light being reflected. What collaborations and what cooperation are you talking about? Because it's one thing to say that you're seeing collaboration and cooperation. What about the collaboration and the cooperation? That is what we want to know about.
That those ties to Jamaica. And for example, the sailors, part of what they'll be doing here, besides experiencing Jamaican hospitality, is they'll be going out to schools, doing repairs at schools. They'll be engaging with football players and sports teams, and a lot of community projects as well.
So no need to fear the increased military presence in the Caribbean?
What the Nimitz is here for, really, is that working with Jamaica.
You heard how he dodged that question? Anybody heard how he dodged that question? The journalist asked if there's any need for us to be concerned, and he dodged the question completely to focus on why the Nimitz is in Jamaica. He dodged the question. Go and play it back, you know. Listen, ladies, it is from the horse's mouth. We don't need to speculate and wonder. Oftentimes, the truth is in plain sight. Most of the times, the truth is right before our very eyes. And all we need to do is to listen a little more.
Is they'll be going out to schools, doing repairs at schools. They'll be engaging with football players and sports teams, and a lot of community projects as well.
So no need to fear the increased military presence in the Caribbean?
What the Nimitz is here for, really, is that working with Jamaica. It's about Jamaica this week.
So given the speculation and talks about Cuba, what about the perception of Jamaica? We spoke to Cabinet Minister Senator Aubin Hill.
One of the things I know that the talk that you hear is probably
Committed to confronting shared seas is non-negotiable. We view our security, our stability, and our prosperity as being intricately tied to yours. Together, we remain committed to confronting shared challenges, including transnational criminal organizations and
Shared challenges. Shared challenges. Now, somebody said something in the chat which is it's such a good point to highlight. Where was this type of collaboration and cooperation in such a very visible way months ago after the hurricane? If you really wanted to send soldiers and sailors to help with painting our schools and helping us to do this and that, where were all of those? Where was that type of assistance months ago? We're 7 months after Hurricane Melissa. Why now? What challenges are you talking about? What, the challenges of the Cuban regime that the United States don't like? Huh? What challenges are you referring to? How is Jamaica to collaborate with the United States? I said it. Well, I asked a question the other night. I was asked to ask the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Andrew Holness administration, if it is true that Jamaica will be playing a critical role in the invasion of Cuba. I was asked to ask a question. If the Jamaica Labour Party administration, if the Andrew Holness administration will be playing a critical role in the invasion of Cuba. When I asked that question some nights ago, persons were wondering, what is Perry asking? See it here now? And I'm still asking the question today. I was asked to ask the government of Jamaica a direct question, and we deserve an answer. You cannot keep Jamaica in the dark. I was asked to ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, if your government will be playing a critical part in the potential invasion of Cuba by the United States of America. It is a disgrace when you think of how Jamaica and Cuba benefited from such a brilliant partnership. And all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, but look at the context. I don't want us to speculate. Tensions between the US and Cuba are extremely high right now. The current geopolitical landscape in mid-2026 has brought the relationship between the two nations to its most fragile and volatile state in decades. The critical context behind why the US military presence in Jamaica is being viewed with intense scrutiny stems from an aggressive, ongoing US regime change pressure campaign against Havana. Let us look at the context of it. We don't want to just spew speculations. The facts are there. Feel free to call me though, ladies and gentlemen. We want to get some of the live footage from Parliament. So we want to, somebody can tell me if the opposition, if they have started to present. No. I'm looking here. Mr. Wheatley is still talking. So we still have some time to really look more at these very important matters. We don't need to speculate. Look at the trend. Look at the pattern. The Venezuela factor. Listen at this. In early 2026, US interventions in Venezuela ousted President Nicolas Maduro. This completely severed Cuba's primary lifeline for subsidized oil. One could definitely argue that the attack on Venezuela was to really and truly impact Cuba as well. And that was the Venezuelan factor. Let's talk about the energy embargo. In January 2026, the Trump administration introduced a near total fuel blockade, threatening heavy tariffs on any country or shipping company delivering oil to Cuba who remembered the energy embargo. We're just looking at trends here. When you think about the humanitarian impact, by May 2026, Cuba officially ran out of oil and diesel. This has plunged the island into a catastrophic humanitarian and energy crisis, resulting in days-long electricity blackouts, failing hospital operations, and severe food shortages. And while all of this was taking place, ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister and the government of Jamaica, the Andrew Holness administration, they have been completely silent on these matters. Where is the Minister of Foreign Affairs? The one time we heard Mr. Holness say anything at the CARICOM meeting was the what? Is who out of Congress? Somebody threatened the Prime Minister. Who remembered when Congressman? There was a congressman who spoke out. Mighty God, everything is adding up, you know. Who remembered? Lord of mercy. Yes! Let us bring up that article. Who remembered when the Prime Minister said something? US Congressman says Jamaica will face consequences. Oh, in criticism against Holness over Cuba comments. I tell you now, let us not forget these conversations. Is this the consequence that Jamaica is facing for what Mr. Holness said? United States Congressman Carlos A. Jimenez has warned that Jamaica will face the consequences for comments made by Prime Minister Andrew Holness about Cuba on Tuesday. Holness, in his address during the opening ceremony of the 50th regular meeting at the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM in St. Kitts and Nevis, said Caribbean leaders must speak plainly about what is happening in Cuba. He called Cuba our Caribbean neighbor, noting that Cuban doctors and teachers have supported countries across the region, including Jamaica. In an apparent reference to the oil blockade imposed on Cuba by the United States, the Jamaican head of government said many Cubans are facing serious economic hardship, energy shortages, and growing humanitarian challenges. Holness insisted, however, that Jamaica stands for democracy, human rights, accountability, and open market-based economies. Mighty God. This moment calls for responsible leadership and constructive dialogue, particularly between Cuba and the United States. To ease tensions and promote reform and stability, Holness said in a post on his account on the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Jimenez used his X account to fire back at Holness. I harshly condemn this and find it lamentable that the JLP, Jamaica Labour Party, would cover up for the moribund dictatorship in Cuba. Why did the United States congressman pointed out JLP? Why didn't just say that the Jamaica government? Stick up in, ladies and gentlemen. Why did the congressman pointed out that it is the Jamaica Labour Party? How many persons are following our discussions over the past couple of weeks? Why did the US congressman pointed out the JLP? He didn't say the Jamaica government. He didn't just leave it there. He specifically said the JLP would cover up for a dictatorship in Cuba when the Fidel Castro regime repeatedly intervened in Jamaica's politics to exacerbate partisan tensions and undermine the JLP. The reason why the US congressman pointed out JLP, because they know that the JLP worked with the United States CIA to try and fight against Manley. There's a reason why he mentioned JLP on his Twitter account. He could have said Jamaican government like that. He had to mention that it is the Jamaica Labour Party. I tell you now, the truth, ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes the truth, it is right before our very eyes. We don't need to speculate. There's a reason why the US congressman, in responding to Holness' remarks regarding the tensions between Cuba and USA, there's a reason why he specified the Jamaica Labour Party. Remember the history. It was the Jamaica Labour Party under Edward Seaga specifically that colluded with the United States government, by extension the CIA, to fight against Cuba, Fidel Castro, and the ideologies of the People's National Party. Let us not forget these things. History is repeating itself right before our very eyes. History is repeating itself right before our very eyes. And here is the Jamaica Labour Party administration again. Here is the Jamaica Labour Party again in government this time. The USS Nimitz in Jamaica. The positioning of the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier strike group in Kingston Harbor, Jamaica, is widely interpreted by regional analysts and the Cuban government not as a simple routine visit. The Cuban government has taken note of the USS Nimitz in Jamaica. The Cuban government, ladies and gentlemen, they have taken note of the Andrew Holness government in bed with the USS Nimitz. You think the Cuban government not watching? This information is out there. All we need to do is just to do a little. Based on my sources here, regional analysts and the Cuban government, they have taken note of the USS Nimitz in Jamaica not as a routine visit as how the Jamaican government today wants to paint it as, or the United States military personnel want to paint it as, but as a deliberate act of military intimidation just 90 miles from Cuba's coast. The US has significantly stepped up military presence and intelligence flights around the perimeter of the island. This is found on the New York Times. Why is it that the government is not telling us that the United States of America, they have been flying drones? Yes, drones have been spotted off the coast of Cuba. They have been surveilling the land of Cuba. The intelligence surges. It is very much clear, ladies and gentlemen, that the United States, they have plans to invade Cuba. Can you imagine? CIA director, listen to this. CIA director John Ratcliffe recently visited Cuba to issue direct warnings to the government. Let me repeat. CIA director John Ratcliffe recently visited Cuba to issue direct warnings to the government. The man got Cuba. CIA got Cuba and issued direct warnings to the government. Meanwhile, the US Secretary of State has signaled a willingness to use military force if Cuba does not agree to sweeping political and economic reforms. Cuba's foreign minister has publicly warned that these US actions risk triggering a bloodbath. Should I go further? Talking about coincidence? Talking about coincidence and routine visit and goodwill tour? Talking about routine tour. You think some people are idiot? The indictment of Raul Castro in May 2026, the US Department of Justice issued an unprecedented murder indictment against 94-year-old former Cuban leader Raul Castro regarding the 1996 downing of civilian planes. Analysts fear this legal move is being used to build a justification for a potential military raid or intervention. The United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, they are building a case. They are building a justification to invade Cuba. And with all of these tensions The United States, the USS Nimitz, is in Jamaican waters for the next couple of days. Until June 5, them say. You know, it's a Jamaica compromise. You know, it's a Jamaica compromise. You know, it's a Jamaica compromise. You know, Sister Jamaica has been used as a military base to spy out Cuba. You know, see that the reason why the USS Nimitz is in Jamaica is because of the proximity to Cuba. And because Jamaica is just 90 miles from Cuba, Jamaica is being used as a base to rejuvenate, to rest, while them do them spying. You know, Sister Jamaica has been used as a military base for the United States of America to spy out Cuba and at the appropriate time invade Cuba. Don't you see that Jamaica has been used as a pit stop? It's like you're upon a long journey. It's like you're upon a long journey and you stop for rest. Jamaica, you have so Andrew Wallace and this government. You have become complicit to something that will do irreparable damage to Jamaica's reputation, and the region is watching. You know, the Caribbean is looking on. And what you have done, what you have facilitated, no backbone. You know exactly what is taking place. The millions of dollars that the United States gave to this country just moments before they appeared on our shores, that is not a coincidence. I tell people I don't believe in coincidences. There's nothing called coincidence. That's a figment of our imagination because of a lack of knowledge or exposure to the truth. There's no such thing as coincidence. Everything is intentional. Remember the amount of payments that has been coming from the United States to Jamaica in the name of aid and relief. And we still can't see what them US dollars they do. Open the eyes, ladies and gentlemen. We can't see what the US dollars, the millions of US, and it's not just the money that we've received recently. We have been alright, again, the facts are there. Facts are there. Alright. 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 What do we see? Ladies and gentlemen, when you think about it, bringing total US bilateral and humanitarian aid to the country has been well over 100 US million. Over US $100 million, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to ask you, where you see that over 100 US million do? That is approximately 15.7 billion Jamaican dollars. 15.7 billion Jamaican dollars has been given to this government in the name of humanitarian aid, relief, and support. 15.7 bit. That's what they don't want to talk about these figures, but I'm gonna talk about them because we have the facts. $15.7 billion were given to the government of Jamaica, and we don't see what that $15.7 billion do in this country. But the $15.7 billion comes up at a point in time where there are tensions between Jamaica and Cuba, and in Raul Castro being indicted. All of these things are happening. The USS Nimitz in the Kingston waters for the next couple of days because they are doing their spying and surveillance of Cuba with their military technology. And you don't see nothing being done with the aid that we've received from the United States. Jamaica, in my opinion, was paid off. Hush money. That's why nobody can come talk nothing, man. Hush money, man. Hush money. Hush money. Hush money. One could say, well, Perry, did the United States really have to pay the government to be close to Cuba? You have to remember optics. If the United States bullied its way into Jamaican waters to spy out Cuba, there would have been major problems. There would have been an alarm. The United States is promoting itself as the world's police, and they don't want to be seen as the bad guys. That's why they are building up a case that Cuba is not good for its people. Cuba is causing its people to suffer. Raul Castro unalived people how much years ago, so he needs to be indicted. If they should bully themselves into Jamaican waters without permission, just putting that in quotation marks, it would have caused problems. So you have to play the politics. So invest in Jamaica in the name of relief and humanitarian aid. Pump billions in the Andrew Wallace administration because of Melissa. Fatten them pockets, line them pockets, make them feel good. So that when we come here, nobody can say no. And the politics, in ladies and gentlemen. And the politics. Jada, worship come for the community services and hospitality and paint wall. Let's connect the dots, Maria. Connect the dots. It's called politics. So while the United States didn't need permission from Jamaica to come to our shores, you don't want to cause unnecessary tensions. But I've said it from last year. Be careful of who you take aid from, because these people want a return on their investment. I've been saying these things for months. If you can't dance with the devil, and one day he will follow you home. If you continue to dance with the devil, one day he's going to follow you home.
And if the enemy are fire, you can't stand up like stooge. You can't go on like a fool. You have to fire back. Somebody load up and say, pop, 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 pop. God, God, badam, bam, bam, bam. Jesus Christ, what is what pop, 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 pop. Jesus Christ, war tonight, Bishop. Warfare tonight. Warfare. Badam, bam, bam, bam. Boom, boom.
That's because, Carol, the money is not for the people. The money is not for the people. The $15.7 billion that the Jamaican government received from the United States in the name of aid. Just the other day they received what? 20 something million or so. 20 something US. 20 something US. The money is not for the people. It was never for the people. Why you think Jamaica has been so slow? Because the money from the United States is not for the people. It was to benefit the people. Aren't you seeing how everything is being played out? It wasn't for the people. The US money what we been get, it wasn't for the people. $22 million US. Thank you, Rosalie McLean. It wasn't for the people. Why you think the people are still suffering in Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, St. James? No money now reach them because the money wasn't for no aid. The money have to put things in place so that when the USS Nimitz come to Jamaica, we can facilitate them. Hear this article. We have I'm leaving at 4. When the PNP start, I may do another live. I may do a live specifically for Parliament. Right? I'm trying to work out what I will do. A former senior CARICOM official sees the docking of one of the world's largest warships, the USS Nimitz, in Jamaican waters on Monday as a tactic by the Donald Trump administration to intimidate Cubans. Do you disagree? The government on Monday welcomed the arrival of the aircraft carrier to Kingston, calling it a symbol of the long-standing bilateral relationship between Jamaica and the United States. The warships is expected to remain in the island until June 5. It can be here longer, you know. Don't be surprised if the warship stays here longer. Let me say that. But former Assistant Secretary General to CARICOM, Ambassador Byron Blake, scoffed at the idea of the warship in Jamaican waters carrying out pedestrian missions. Now, in the best of times, I might have said that this was strange, but we're not living in the best of times. We are in a time where the US has announced publicly its intention to bring Cuba under US hegemony to regime change, to take over the country. The timetabling of that, which has also been announced, is that would follow the Iran expedition, said Blake. The US has intensified its economic and political squeeze on Cuba, maintaining tight trade sanctions and travel bans in a rigid push for democratic reform. Washington's ongoing designation of Havana as a state sponsor of terrorism continues to cripple the island's economy as American officials demand immediate human rights improvements and systemic political changes. Blake said it is very strange that a warship would come to Jamaica without an official statement from the government. Mr. Prime Minister, where is the official statement? Where is the official statement from the government? We just saw Darrell Vaz pop up with video. Diana Morris pop up in a video. Nothing from the government. We have seen a listing of activities which I would call pedestrian activities, painting schools. Which high-level soldier does that? I think that it is really part of the intimidation and possible attack strategy on Cuba, and it should be seen and called in those terms. I cannot see any other term by which to describe it. Which high-level, highly skilled military veteran who man warships and aircraft and drones would come to Jamaica to paint school? It doesn't make any sense, ladies and gentlemen. It really doesn't make any sense. But this is the filthy sandwich that they have disseminated for the people of Jamaica to gobble up. And sadly, many of those laborites, many of the media outlets, they have gobbled up this propaganda. Gobbled up their propaganda. I hear that Dayton Campbell start his presentation. Let us pause this until later. Serious matters. Let us take a quick break, and then we'll join our fellow comrades in Parliament, ladies and gentlemen.
Have dominated the world, have used money to rule it, and have ruled it in their own interest. It looks at a world economic system that has no regard for the poor, that has no regard for the small nations, that has no regard for the poor of the small nations. And the policy is a dignified policy, is not a violent policy, is not a policy of guns. It's a very honorable policy, but it is a very clear policy. It is a policy that calls the poor of the world to stand together, to stand firm together, to struggle together, to struggle for change, to struggle for justice, to struggle through organization, to struggle through will, to struggle through determination, to struggle to build a new kind of world in which your children and mine will walk with more dignity, with better housing, with better opportunity, with better prices, with better response from the World Monetary System. That is the world to which I call you. That is the world for which I struggle, and no power will turn me back from that world. And comrades, if you go and walk with me, if you go and step with me, if you go and move with me, we're moving as warriors. We're moving in determination. We're moving to struggle. We're moving to change that world. No power will turn us back.
Let us jump over Parliament, ladies and gentlemen.
Madam Speaker, I thank the people of Eastern Westmoreland. Out of agriculture because they cannot access land. You're not keeping up if you don't know that I'm a farmer. You're not keeping up, you know. You're not keeping up. You're not keeping up. Madam Speaker, I know. I know the anxiety of waiting on rainfall. I know the disappointment of seeing crops fail after months of labor. In communities like those across Eastern Westmoreland, agriculture is more than abstract policy issues. It is survival, dignity, opportunity, and hope. This debate, therefore, is not merely about statistics or policy documents. It is about whether the people of Jamaica, especially those in rural communities, feel protected, respected, and empowered by the policies of their government. Madam Speaker, I wish to place on the record a biblical principle. Directly to the issues before us today. Galatians 6:7 reminds us, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Whilst the Apostle Paul was speaking about moral responsibility, he used language every farmer understands. The principle is simple. There is a relationship between what is planted and what is harvested, between choices and consequences, between policy and outcomes. That principle applies equally to public policy. A country that sows weak planning cannot expect strong agricultural sector. A country that underinvests in irrigation, farm roads, agricultural resilience, fisheries infrastructure, and youth participation cannot expect to reap food security and rural prosperity. The scripture also warns us, be not deceived. In policy terms, we must not confuse activity with achievement, announcements with results, or public relations with progress. Consultations, launches, and press releases have their place, but they cannot substitute for practical support that reaches farmers, fishers, and consumers. Therefore, when I speak of a harvest the people can eat, I speak not only of crops and fish, but of the harvest of governance itself. Ultimately, leadership is judged not by what it announced, but by what the people are able to reap from our stewardship. Madam Speaker, agriculture and fisheries are not secondary sectors to be discussed only in times of crisis. They are fundamental to Jamaica's survival, stability, and economic independence. I acknowledge that some work has been done and some progress has been made. I acknowledge also the dedication of farmers, fishers, extension officers, technical staff, and rural communities. However, the real question is whether government policy has produced sufficient improvement in the lives of the people who depend on those sectors. Far too many Jamaicans answer that as no. Madam Speaker, if we wish to assess the true state of agriculture, we must look beyond announcement and examine the results. The figures are sobering. In 2025, Jamaica's food import bill rose to approximately US $1.46 billion. I don't know if the member speaking before has some updated information, because he said the food import bill is at $2 billion. That's US dollars. When the government came to office in 2016, that food import bill was at $834 million US dollars. Approximately 50% of what it is now. At the same time, agricultural exports declined from approximately US $288 million in 2024 to US $278 million in 2025. As a result, Jamaica now imports roughly $5 worth of food for every dollar earned from agricultural exports. These figures should concern every policymaker. Jamaica is blessed with fertile land, a strong agricultural tradition, and thousands of hard-working farmers. Yet we remain heavily dependent on imported food. Madam Speaker, praise for agriculture carries little weight if the food import bill continues to rise while agricultural export continues to decline. Ultimately, the measure of success is not what is announced, but what is achieved for the Jamaican people. Jamaica remains heavily dependent on imported food and agricultural inputs. As a result, we are exposed to global price increases, supply chain disruption, exchange rate pressure, and international events beyond our control, as the war in Iran, between Iran and Israel, is now affecting us.
KidsGuard is a reliable parental control tool that can help parents protect their children's online activities.
Strategies to expand domestic production. This includes strengthening local feed production, supporting crops such as cassava, sweet potato, breadfruit, onions, Irish potato, sorghum, and providing incentives for farmers producing priority commodities. In the debate that we had on the Jamaica Dairy Board, I spoke about the opportunity that is there for milk and beef trimmings. But Irish potato, Madam Speaker, Jamaica imports between 19.5 million and 21 million tons of French fries annually, at a cost to the country of more than US $30 million each year. These figures, drawn from the last 5 years, highlight a significant opportunity for import substitution, value-added production, and rural economic growth. When the National Development Plan speaks of agribusinesses and value chain development, farmers and the wider agricultural sector expect to see practical strategies that can transform these imports into local production. Specifically, the country should be pursuing a plan to replace those imported French fries with the domestic production of approximately 34 to 36 million kilograms of Irish potatoes, based on a conversion ratio of 1.75 kilograms of Irish potatoes for every kilogram of French fries produced. Madam Speaker, the opportunities arising from such an initiative would extend across several agricultural regions of Jamaica. We have already demonstrated the capacity to successfully cultivate Irish potato in Manchester, Trelawney, St. Elizabeth, St. James, and the Guysill Belt, spanning St. Catherine, St. Mary, and St. Anne. Many farming communities, including those in my own constituency, stand ready to participate and benefit from such an expansion. Based on the current yield that we get in Jamaica of approximately 15 metric tons per hectare, if we were to take on that full demand, we would put 2,000 hectares of Irish potato under production. Madam Speaker, this is precisely the type of strategic thinking, detailed planning, and measurable economic opportunity that our farmers expect when government speaks about national development. Agribusiness and value chain development cannot remain abstract concepts in policy documents. They must be translated into clear production targets. Madam Speaker, I welcome the National Agricultural Development Plan and the efforts to establish a long-term vision for the sector. Jamaica needs a serious agricultural strategy, and on that principle there should be broad agreement in this House. However, our greatest challenge is not a lack of diagnosis. We already know the problems. We know that irrigation remains inadequate, access to financing and technology is limited, storage capacity is insufficient, production planning is inconsistent, export system can be burdensome, and too many farmers and fishers remain disconnected from the benefits of national policy. The danger is that the National Agricultural Development Plan becomes another document that accurately identifies problems but fails to meaningfully deliver change. Plans by themselves do not transform a country. Execution does. Execution requires clear priorities, measurable targets, transparent budget, defined responsibilities, regular reporting, and the political will to follow through. That is why I call for a public implementation framework to be attached to the plan, one that identifies priority project, timelines, funding sources, implementing agencies, and measurable outcomes. The Jamaican people deserve to know not but how success will be and when results can be expected. Madam Speaker, Hurricane Melissa exposed serious weaknesses in the way we protect and support the people who feed this country. I witnessed the devastation firsthand in eastern Westmoreland. I met farmers who saw months of labor destroyed overnight. I spoke to fishers who lost boats, engine, traps, and equipment. I saw families wondering how they would recover and whether they could afford to start again. Behind every damaged farm is a family. Behind every destroyed boat is a livelihood. And behind every statistic is a human story. The damage revealed not only the impact of a hurricane, but the vulnerability of the systems on which farmers and fishers depend. No government can prevent a hurricane. The true test of leadership, however, is whether recovery systems are strong enough to respond quickly and help people rebuild with dignity. On that test, many farmers and fishers believe the system fell short. The issue is not the storm itself. Jamaicans understand that hurricanes are part of our reality. The issue is what happened after the storm passed. Too many people waited too long for assistance, too many remained uncertain about available support, and too many felt forgotten once public attention moved on. Recovery cannot depend on hope. It requires funding, clear timelines, transparent criteria, and public accountability. I therefore call on the government to table a comprehensive recovery report to Parliament detailing the assistance delivered, beneficiaries reached, funds allocated and disbursed, outstanding needs, and measures being implemented to strengthen resilience against future disaster. Most importantly, disaster recovery must be built around the realities of production. Farmers cannot wait indefinitely to replant crops. Livestock require daily feed, and fishers must return to sea quickly to support their families. Madam Speaker, the first recommendation I place before the House in this is the establishment of a permanent agriculture and fisheries disaster recovery fund. Such a fund should not be created after every hurricane, flood, or drought. It should not depend on emergency appeals or delayed budget allocations after livelihoods have been destroyed. It should be a standing national fund, financed annually and ready to be activated immediately when disaster strikes. Jamaica is vulnerable to hurricanes, floods, droughts, and other climate-related events. These risks are predictable. Our response system should therefore be proactive, not reactive. A permanent fund would allow government to move from crisis management to preparedness. It would provide farmers and fishers with confidence that support will be available through a clear, transparent mechanism whenever disaster causes significant losses. The fund should serve 5 core purposes: providing emergency assistance to affected producers, replacing critical productive assets, supporting temporary livelihoods where incomes have been disrupted, accelerating replanting and restocking, and helping producers rebuild in ways that are more resilient to future disasters. Importantly, recovery must be linked to production. The objective is not simply to compensate losses, but to help farmers return to their fields and fishers return to the sea as quickly as possible. Madam Speaker, every disaster teaches the same lesson. Delayed recovery increases hardship, weakens food security, and slows economic growth. A permanent recovery fund would help ensure that assistance is timely, predictable, and focused on restoring livelihoods. If we know the disaster will come, then preparedness is not an option, it is a responsibility. Madam Speaker, for the fund to succeed, it must be transparent, efficient, and trusted by the people it is designed to serve. It cannot become another program defined by delay, uncertainty, or discretion. It must operate according to clear rules, clear timelines, and clear accountability. Farmers and fishers should know who qualifies, what losses are covered, what support is available, and how assistance can be accessed. Once a disaster is declared and the fund is activated, application should be processed through a simple and accessible system supported by RADA, Fisheries Authority, and parish-level recovery teams. Most importantly, recovery must be timely. Damage assessment should begin immediately. Emergency assistance should reach affected producers within weeks, and regular public reports should provide transparency on beneficiaries, funding, and progress. The fund should also be supported by parish-level agricultural and fisheries recovery teams established before disaster occurs. Their role would be to assess damage, verify losses, coordinate assistance, and ensure that support reaches those most in need quickly and fairly. Madam Speaker, preparedness is not simply about forecasting storms. It is about having systems in place to protect livelihoods, restore production, and help people recover with dignity when disaster strikes. The obvious question is how such a fund would be financed. The answer is that it should not depend on a single source of funding. A permanent agriculture and fishery disaster recovery fund should be supported through a blended model that combines annual government allocations, climate finance, insurance mechanism, development partner support, and private sector partnership. Madam Speaker, a responsible nation does not wait until livelihoods are destroyed before searching for funding. It prepares in advance. Equally important, Madam Speaker, is accountability. The fund should be independently audited, report annually on what outcomes were achieved. The Jamaican people should not have to guess how disaster funds are being spent. Transparency must be built into the system from the beginning. I propose the establishment of an oversight body as well, comprising of representatives of government, opposition, farmers and fishers organizations, and other relevant stakeholders to strengthen public confidence and ensure fair administration. Madam Speaker, the issue before us is not whether resources can be found. The issue is whether we are prepared to build permanent systems that ensure those resources reach the people who need them the most when they need them the most. This is not simply an agricultural priority. It is a national responsibility and one that should unite us across party lines. Madam Speaker, disaster recovery is essential, but recovery alone cannot be our strategy. We must place equal emphasis on reducing vulnerability before disaster strikes. Climate change is no longer a future concern. It is a present reality. Farmers are facing longer droughts, more intense hurricanes, irregular rainfall, flooding, heat stress, and increased pest pressures. Fishers are confronting changing marine conditions and increasingly dangerous seas. The question is whether we are doing enough to help them adapt. Serious resilience program must include expanded irrigation, water harvesting system, protected agriculture, drought-resistant crops, improved drainage, hurricane-resistant infrastructure, coastal protection, and modern early warning systems. Resilience cannot remain a word that appears only in reports and speeches. It must be reflected in the investment we make and the systems we build. Madam Speaker, one of the fastest and most practical ways to strengthen food security is to reduce post-harvest loss. Too much of what our farmers produce never reaches to the consumers. Valuable produce is lost because of inadequate storage, limited cold chain infrastructure, insufficient processing capacity, and weaknesses in moving goods efficiently from farm to market. At a time when farmers are working hard to increase production, consumers are facing high food prices. Such losses are simply unacceptable. The government should therefore prioritize parish-level aggregation and distribution centers where produce can be sorted, graded, stored, processed, and connected to reliable markets. These facilities should be linked to schools, hospitals, hotels, supermarkets, exporters, and agro-processors to strengthen the journey from farm to table. We must also improve access to market intelligence. Farmers need timely information on demand, prices, and market opportunities so that production decisions can be guided by data rather than guesswork. Madam Speaker, reducing post-harvest loss is about more than preventing waste. It is about increasing farmers' incomes, improving food affordability, strengthening supply chains, and making better use of what Jamaica already produces. In relation to youth in agriculture, Madam Speaker, if Jamaica is serious about the future of agriculture, then we must be equally serious about investing in young people who will shape that future. The minister spoke about youth engagement and developing the next generation of agricultural leaders. An objective that this deserves growth. However, the cancellation of the National 4-H Achievement Day 2026 has raised legitimate concerns among students, parents, teachers, and stakeholders across the sector. National Achievement Day is more than an event. It is a platform that recognizes excellence, encourages innovation, builds confidence, and exposes young people to opportunities in agriculture, agribusiness, science, and entrepreneurship. For many students, particularly those in rural communities, it is their opportunity to showcase their talent on a national stage. Against that background, the cancellation is disappointing and warrants a clear explanation. At a time when we are encouraging young people to enter agriculture, opportunities for recognition and participation should be expanding and not shrinking. I therefore call on the government to provide a full explanation for the cancellation, commit to restoring National Achievement Day in 2027, and consider hosting an alternative National Youth Agricultural Showcase this year so that students who have worked hard are not deprived of an opportunity to display their achievements. The 4-H movement also needs to be properly funded. Madam Speaker, Jamaica needs a clear and structured pathway for young people to enter and succeed in agriculture. That pathway should begin in our schools, extend through training, land access, financing, business development, and marketing opportunities. Madam Speaker, I also wish to recognize the indispensable contribution of women to the agricultural sector. Women are farmers, agro-processors, entrepreneurs, vendors, and community leaders. They play a critical role in food production, value-added processing, household food security, and rural development. Yet many continue to
tired of waiting and waiting and waiting for that one package you read.
Transportation and farm markets. If we are serious about agricultural development, then we must be equally serious about removing those barriers. I therefore support targeted programs that expand access to financing, training, processing, packaging, branding, and market opportunities for women-led agricultural enterprise and cooperatives. Particular attention should be given to rural women involved in value-added production, where agriculture creates not only income, but employment and economic activity within communities. Madam Speaker, investing in women is not simply a social objective. It is a sound economic strategy. When women in agriculture succeed, families are strengthened, communities become more resilient, and the nation moves closer to achieving food security and inclusive growth. If Jamaica is serious about developing its blue economy, then we must invest in the foundations of a modern fisheries industry. Fisheries need reliable landing sites, cold storage facilities, ice-making plants, market access, timely weather information, and stronger cooperative structure that improves efficiency and strengthens their position within the ecosystem. Madam Speaker, on the issue of predial larceny, no serious agricultural policy can ignore predial larceny. Farmers cannot be expected to invest, expand production, or encourage the next generation to enter agriculture if criminals can steal livestock and crops with little fear of consequences. Predial larceny is more than theft. It is an attack on rural livelihoods, food security, and economic growth. It undermines confidence, discourages investment, and weakens the agricultural sector. The government must strengthen its response through better coordination among law enforcement, rather, farmers' organizations, local communities. Improve farm registration, stronger livestock identification system. And if you speak to most cattle farmers currently, Madam Speaker, they will tell you that they can't get any tags for their animals. So in essence, what we are doing is turning the hard-working farmers of the country into criminals when they are caught with these animals that they cannot properly identify. We need continued investment in farm roads. And Madam Speaker, on the issue of farm roads, the minister often stands up to talk about how many farm roads have been done. And oftentimes, it is about 300 or 400 kilometers, and they have only repaired a section of 300 or 400 meters to say that we do 200 roads. That is not efficient, Madam Speaker, and that is not transformative. Madam Speaker, Jamaica must do more to capture the full value of what our farmers produce. Too often, the greatest economic value is created after harvest through processing, packaging and branding and marketing. Agro-processing therefore represents one of the clearest opportunities to increase incomes, reduce post-harvest losses, create jobs and expand exports. Whether it is fruits being transformed into juices, cassava processed into flour, or spices converted into value-added products, every stage of processing allows Jamaica to retain more wealth within the local economy. Madam Speaker, one of the greatest tests of government is whether promises are translated into measurable results. Too often, programs are announced and resources are allocated without sufficient public reporting on outcomes and impact. The Jamaican people deserve to know not only what was promised, but what was delivered. I therefore propose that the ministry publish an annual agriculture and fisheries sector scorecard reporting on key indicators such as farmers and fishers support, youth and women participation, agricultural expansion, farm road improvement, disaster recovery assistance, fisheries development, post-harvest loss reduction, and efforts to strengthen food security. Prime Minister, transparency is not a burden. It is a pillar of good governance. Clear reporting strengthens accountability, improves decision-making, and builds public confidence. If we are serious about transforming agriculture and fisheries, then performance must be measured not by announcements made, but by the results delivered. Madam Speaker, the opposition offers a practical agenda focused on implementation, accountability, and results. Our priorities are clear: a permanent agriculture and fisheries disaster recovery fund, a national food import reduction plan, stronger support for youth through Jamaica 4-H Club and a youth in agriculture program, a modernized and resilient fisheries sector, stronger response to predator larceny, greater investment in farm roads, irrigation, storage, and agro-processing, expanded opportunity for women in agriculture, increased access to financing, insurance, and risk management tools, and greater transparency through annual sector scorecard and public reporting. Madam Speaker, Jamaica just does not need more promises without delivery or plans without implementation. What our farmers and fishers need are policies that increase production, strengthen food security, expand opportunity, and improve livelihoods. This is the agenda we are proposing. That is the standard we should demand, and that is the future our agriculture and fisheries sector deserves. Madam Speaker, as the Member of Parliament for Eastern Westmoreland, I have witnessed the resilience, determination, and hard work of our farmers, fishers, and rural communities. They're not asking for favors. They're asking for opportunity. They're asking for partnership. They're asking for leadership that matches words with action. The opposition stands ready to support every measure that genuinely advances those goals, but we will continue to demand accountability, transparency, and results, because the Jamaican people deserve nothing less. And so, I return to the central theme of this debate. The true measure of success is not what is announced, but what is achieved. It is measured in the farmer who can earn a fair return from the land. It is measured in the fisher who can return safely to sea. It is measured in the young person who sees a future in agriculture. It is measured in families who can afford the food they need, and in rural communities that can thrive with dignity and hope. That is the harvest Jamaica needs. That is the harvest our people deserve. And that is the harvest that we must all work together to achieve. Thank you very much.
Good time.
That was a lovely presentation from the MP from Eastern Westmoreland. Wonderful presentation. It was really good, and it is solid. If we don't get our agriculture to where it should be, Jamaica will never truly see prosperity. Let us hear Mr. Christopher Brown. Chris Brown.
Granted, Mr. Speaker will be taking over as well.
Yes. Madam Speaker, I rise today to make my contribution. I rise knowing that the confidence that has been reposed in me by the people of southeastern St. Mary is strong. It is firmly rooted and grounded in a shared vision of wanting better for our communities, better for our people, and better for our country. I therefore remain grateful to the people for this opportunity to serve. I want to acknowledge from the outset the members of my constituency executive, Mr. Speaker, and advisory team, long-standing Councillor Levan Freeman, who are seated in the gallery. I thank you for your loyalty, your support, your service, and your hard work as we continue to work towards building better for southeastern St. Mary. Madam Speaker, I want to also acknowledge the students and teachers of St. Mary Technical High, Marymount High, and Anotta Bay High, the three main high schools in southeast St. Mary. I thank them for being here today. Let me also express sincere thanks to the leader for the confidence he has reposed in me in appointing me to serve as a member of his shadow cabinet. I want to also, Mr. Speaker, take the opportunity to thank members on both sides of this honorable House for their support, their guidance, and their quiet words of encouragement to me as a first-term member of Parliament. And, Madam Speaker, I want to thank my family. My wife Sandra, my son William, who is in the gallery, my mother who has been ailing for some time. Mommy, I know you are watching, and all will be well. Mr. Speaker, last week I listened to Minister Marks. Just now we heard from Minister Wheatley. I extend to both the respect they deserve, and I want to say clearly on the record that real things are happening. The Data Protection Act, the ICT Authority, the JDXP, the I Task Force, JCERT's decade of work
Credit must be given where credit is due. I wish to also put on record the government in its own mission statements, both at the level of government generally and within the respective ministries, have recognized that the world has entered a digital revolution. This digital revolution, if properly embraced and adopted with urgency, can deliver the efficiencies and growth that have eluded us for many decades. Mr. Speaker, we are already seeing the benefits of this transformation in many other countries and regions. The efficiencies it brings, the productivity gains it enables, and the opportunities it creates for new entrants into the business space, particularly small and emerging entrepreneurs. We also recognize that one of the key economic indicators of a country moving toward higher growth and higher income status is its capacity to innovate. Yes. Yes. Innovation is central to competitiveness in the modern global economy. Madam Speaker, this digital revolution, therefore, presents us with clear opportunities, Mr. Speaker. Opportunities for growth, for higher incomes, better salaries, and for improved productivity across all sectors. It offers a pathway for greater inclusion of small and medium-sized enterprises into the formal business economy without prohibitive costs, thereby leveling the playing field and broadening participation in economic activity. In short, Mr. Speaker, what we are witnessing is a transformation that, if properly harnessed, can accelerate economic growth, expand economic livelihoods, and reshape opportunity for our people. Within all of this, what has struck me, and not just from last week, and not just today, but from the outset of this administration as it relates to the areas of science, technology, and matters relating to digital transformation, is a remarkable, unbroken consistency in how these portfolios have been managed and prioritized. There is, Mr. Speaker, a consistency to confuse announcement with accomplishment, yes, to celebrate speeches as action, yeah, and now in recent time to position assessment as transformation. We have been talking a lot, making loads of announcements. Yes. The minister, in his own words earlier, said that the sector has been sleeping. Yes. Yes. What an admission. But the modern infrastructure, what a long sleep, complete with the required funding and the required legislation, has been consistently missing. Yes. And so it is therefore understandable, Mr. Speaker, that the Jamaican people and key industry stakeholders and practitioners are now entitled to shift the question to not what is the vision, but what has been delivered. Yes. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, let me ground this in evidence, as I don't come here to just chat. Yes. Or to be partisan, yes, or to criticize. Yes. Jamaica does not have the time for that in this rapidly changing and unfolding digital revolution. Correct. You know, one of the clearest examples of the impact of efficiency, innovation, and the utilization of digital tools, and of tapping into the broader digital revolution, is reflected in how we are ranked and rated in relation to the ease of doing business. Yes. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sorry. In the 2015-2016 period, Jamaica was ranked 60s, in the 60s globally, out of approximately 190 economies in the World Bank's Doing Business assessment. However, in the last available report published by the World Bank, the final report before the series was discontinued, just before COVID, Jamaica was ranked 71st. We are going in the wrong direction. The World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO,
Global Innovation Index ranks 139 countries on whether they are genuinely building the systems that drive modern economies. In 2020, Jamaica ranked 72nd. In 2025, 83rd. Taken closer, it represents 5 years of consecutive decline. Year after year after year after year of decline. Again. Knowledge and technology outputs ranks Jamaica 117th out of 139. Network readiness, 94th out of 127. These are not opposition statistics, Mr. Speaker. These are independent international scorecards. And the WIPO Director General was just here last week in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, one number I want every Jamaican listening to hold in their mind. In all of 2023, the entire year, Jamaican inventors filed 2 patents. 2. Ranked 121 out of 139 globally. Down 75% from the year before. No tech unicorn. There is not one Jamaican university in the international rankings. And this is not because we lack talent. Madam Speaker, our culture is extraordinary. Indeed, Jamaica is one of the great cultural powers of the world. Our music, our language, our rhythms, our creativity shape global culture every single day. Sports. But in the age of artificial intelligence and digital transformation, we must now ask, who owns Jamaican culture in the digital century? Artificial intelligence systems are now being trained on Jamaican music, Jamaican accents, Jamaican slang, and Jamaican creative expression, often without compensation or protection for the Jamaican people. Our culture is being mined as data while others monetize what Jamaica created. Mr. Speaker, innovation without sovereignty can become extraction. And so as we pursue digital transformation, Jamaica must also develop a serious national strategy around cultural intellectual property, around AI governance and digital rights, and become a leading voice through bodies such as WIPO in protecting cultural sovereignty in the age of artificial intelligence. So creativity without investment, as the WIPO Secretary General told the Prime Minister, told Minister Wheatley, told Albin Hill last week, and creativity without research funding, without a system behind it, does not become patents. Let us look a little closer home. The Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Strategic Business Plan 2022 to 2026, which was published in February 2022, and this is the government's document, states in strategic objective number 8, and I quote, facilitate an increase in investments in R&D, science, technology, and investment to 1% of GDP by March 2026. I heard the minister said earlier that it is 0.7% now. But if you check the WIPO records, there is no R&D expenditure figure for Jamaica at all. The Global Innovation Index ranks Jamaica 124th out of 133 on the scale as it relates to research and development. Sadly, Jamaica ranks 3rd in the entire world on the Human Flight and Brain Drain Index. More than 40% of every Jamaican who earns a university degree is living and working abroad. The nurse from UWI is in Canada. The engineer from UTAKE is in London. The IT professional who could be building Jamaica's digital systems is in Florida. They did not leave because they didn't love Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, they left because Jamaica has not built the environment where their talent can be valued with dignity. No retention strategy. No tax incentive for the STEM professional who stays. No innovation district where returning diaspora can build something meaningful. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about a young lady who is from a community called IB, IT Boreal, on the outskirts of Anata Bay in my constituency. She's in her late 20s. Yes. She has 2 children. And she lives with her mother while she stays in Kingston, yes, Sundays to Fridays each week. Yes. She has 3 other siblings. None works. 2 are still in school. Her mom also doesn't work. She is the breadwinner. She handles hundreds of calls a day, works hard, sends what she can home to help with the household, trying with everything she has to build something for herself and her family. She works in one of Jamaica's call centers. She represents thousands of Jamaicans, especially in the Montego Bay, St. Andrew, and Kingston area, whose livelihood depends on this sector. Yes. And right now, not in the future, but right now, Mr. Speaker, companies running these call centers globally are testing AI systems that do exactly what she does. Faster, cheaper. This government formed an AI task force in August 2023. Recommendations were published in 2025. UNESCO assessment completed in April of this year. And they are now, as of this sitting, beginning to draft a national AI policy. 3 years and Jamaica still has not enacted a plan. Shame. She needs a specific funded named program. Here is where you go. Here is what you learn. Here is who pays. Here is what job is waiting on the other side. Many other countries are doing this. Why can't Jamaica do this as well? There are thousands who are like this young lady, who want an end to the glossy symposiums, who want an end to the nice speeches, who want an end to the dilly-dallying. Madam Speaker, every Jamaican remembers Hurricane Melissa, October 2025. Cell towers down across entire parishes. Emergency service operating blind. Melissa was a natural disaster. We could not stop her. But what Melissa revealed clearly and painfully is what happens when Jamaica's infrastructure fails, when things go down, when services stop. And Madam Speaker, that collapse can happen because deliberately. The Caribbean, as the Minister acknowledged earlier on, is the fastest growing region in the world for cyber attacks, growing at 25% every year. We have had some major breaches, and I heard him said 49 million earlier, over the past 5 years, some public, some not disclosed. Both within the public and private sector, there have been breaches. The port of Kingston, if that goes down, nothing moves. There is no institutional or legislative framework that gives the government of Jamaica legal authority to compel the public sector, to compel customs, to compel a hospital, a port, or a utility to meet minimum security standards. We hear the minister announcing that that is to start now. We need that long time and we need it now. Only a cyber security act can do that. Madam Speaker, that gap was identified in 2015. The government told the OAS, in their own words, the work is progressing with an anticipated completion in 2027. Madam Speaker, 2027. On the overarching national security strategy, cybersecurity strategy, the government told the OAS the updated strategy had an implementation target of December 31st, 2025. That deadline has passed. Has it been formally adopted? Has it been completed? Singapore passed its Cybersecurity Act in 2018. Jamaica's own target is 2027. 9 years behind Singapore. Madam Speaker, when I speak and stand there today, I not only speak as a legislator. Yes. I have been in the senior leadership of private sector companies in this country, across the table from the government institutions in these areas. I work directly with needs and experienced the lengthy delays, lethargy, and missed deadlines. I worked with eGov Jamaica, and saw the downgrade, scaling down, underfunded activities which demoralized the professionals therein. I navigated jam decks with the Bank of Jamaica. So I've experienced the versions which are behind the conference and the glossy speeches. The pattern is real and always the same. Grand announcement, grand attention, and then timeline stretch, costs raise, confusion sets in, and eventually a new name, maybe a new minister, a new speech, a new acronym, and then it starts again. Jam decks from the private sector side, confusion, a complete legal tender framework, but no operational plumbing, no merchant adoption plan. Right now, no published roadmap. eGov became the ICT authority, a 6-year-old act, finally operationalized in April of 2025. Budget reduced, Minister, in the recent budget exercise. The JDXP now presented as a flagship achievement. The JDXP is the right tool, we acknowledge that. But where is the mandate requiring every ministry to use it by a specific date? The Data Protection Act, of which the minister spoke earlier, passed 2020, enforced 2023, a 3-year gap, and then widespread confusion in the private sector. Regulations still being written after enforcement had already begun. Scrappy execution. In fact, the Act says that the law is to be reviewed every 5 years, and that timeline has already passed. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I say to both ministers sincerely, and I say to the Honorable Prime Minister in his absence, we want Jamaica to succeed, but let us get it right. Less announcements, less global workshops, more execution, more legislation, more funding, and more delivery. But what is it that Jamaica needs now? Jamaica needs these things. A Cybersecurity Act. The government says 2027, we need it now. Jamaica needs an updated national cybersecurity strategy. The government told the OAS December 31st, 2025. That deadline has passed, we need it now. Jamaica needs an enacted AI policy with a binding deadline, and within it, a specific funded reskilling program for workers displaced by automation. A pathway the young woman in my constituency can actually access it. We need it now. Jamaica needs one national digital skill plan, not 10 separate programs in 10 separate corners of the administration. One plan, one binding target. Jamaica needs it now. Jamaica needs a university commercialization framework so that research at UWI and UTech generates patents, licenses, and companies that create jobs in Jamaica rather than careers abroad. We need it now. Jamaica needs a new R&D investment target. We heard the minister say 1.5. We don't even know if the 1% he indicated a few years back has been met. We need a new target. Fund it, report it. Let WIPO find Jamaica's number on its platform. We need that now. Mr. Speaker, I want to now quickly reflect as a citizen who has the honor to sit in this parliament as an elected representative. Because what I want to speak about now is bigger than any one administration, bigger than any one side of this chamber. It is about government as an institution. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that we are facing a challenge in the truest sense of being a participatory democracy. We are already seeing it. Voter turnout failing. Figures of 37% in the 2020 COVID election. But then 39% last year with no COVID. Engagement is declining. A growing number of Jamaicans, especially young Jamaicans, who have concluded that it does not matter who is in power because the system does not work for them regardless. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this is a verdict delivered not at the ballot, but by staying away from it. And it is a verdict that every single person in this chamber on both sides should find deeply troubling. Because when people disengage from government, the feedback loop that holds government accountable breaks. And when that breaks down, the incentive to deliver rather than merely announce weakens further. It is a cycle, it is dangerous. Mr. Speaker, and beyond the politics and partisan contention, the people simply want government to work. I get calls every day from the people of my constituency about garbage not collected, about street light bulbs not working. MP, the area is in darkness, about water pipes that are burst, about roads, and sadly, they don't really care whether it's MP road or parish council road. They want the road fixed. They want to go to hospital. They want the drains to be cleaned. They want to go to hospital and to be treated with respect and dignity. And they want to send their children to school to receive quality education and come back home safe to them. These are not extravagant demands. These are basic expectations of the social contract between the government and citizens. And when that contract is broken, Mr. Speaker, repeatedly and consistently, people do not just complain, they leave. They disengage. They conclude that government is for someone else. Technology alone cannot restore that. A digital twin cannot. A GovCloud cannot. An AI readiness assessment cannot. Only delivery can. Consistent, visible, measurable delivery that reaches ordinary people in their ordinary lives. Mr. Speaker, movements across the globe indicates that the final element in the system of globalization, that is the free movement of people, is facing rejection, particularly in the West. And more developed economies with a growing anti-immigration wave is emerging. We see it in the UK. We see it in the North. We see it in France. We are even seeing it in Africa, in South Africa. Jamaica has to get it right. Though we are a migratory people, the world is closing in that area, but expanding in the sphere of digital economy and AI innovation. Jamaica has to get it right. For the students from Annata Bay, for the students from Marymount, for the students from St. Mary Technical in this gallery today, watching and listening, and the thousands who will be graduating shortly, Jamaica needs to get it right. For the thousands of BPO workers, Jamaica has to get it right. For the thousands of young professionals and tertiary graduates, Jamaica has to get it right. For the mass of the working class who are increasingly finding it difficult to make ends meet even in the context of reported low inflation and low unemployment, Jamaica has to get it right. For the many Jamaicans across all walks of life who are finding that Jamaica is increasingly becoming unaffordable, Jamaica has to get it right. For the small and micro-sized business and individuals who want to set up their businesses or make their businesses grow and become efficient and productive, Jamaica has to get it right. Enough of the reviews. We heard more reviews announced today. Enough of what is to come. Enough of the announcements. Enough of the death by acronyms. We do not have the time. Jamaica has to get it now. Jamaica has to get it right. And we must lead that process from inside here. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hello, well done. You can clap.
Members of the gallery.
You can clap. You can clap.
Members within the gallery, though you may get excited, you are not supposed to show it by clapping or cheering. House leader.
Mr. Hero, you cannot stop the people in the gallery from clapping. That was a brilliant presentation by Mr. Brown. My God, that was a brilliant presentation. First time MP. He has definitely left an indelible mark on Parliament this evening. That was brilliant. That was brilliant, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to take one call. We have to break for later's show, so we're going to stop it at here this evening, and we reconvene at 6. Go ahead, caller. You're the only one.
Hey, brother.
Yes.
It was a brutal takedown of the Craveney administration.
Oh yes.
That was a brutal takedown of the crazy, craven, a despicable administration. It's not even an administration, it's a regime. They are awful, unscrupulous, dirty, everything that is bad in the washtub. They are the nastiest set of people ever govern Jamaica. And I am so glad for Christopher Brown. Take them down, take them to the cemetery and bury them down there. You no wonder big head Craveney, big nose Craveney and his wife gone. They can't stand to hear the truth.
My God, it was wonderful.
Yes, it was one of the best.
Yes.
He took them from A to Z. Because I started watching the other one. Your program was on, but you weren't broadcasting the beginning of this. So I was watching Mystic Sensation. And I had to drop out. I said, I don't want to hear Andrew Wheatley no more. Because he cannot even pronounce the words he's calling out. Can't pronounce them properly. He's chewing on the words.
Oh boy, I tell you.
And then I don't know what he's talking. Everybody in the comment section saying, what is this idiot saying? Imagine every year is the same thing. Big speeches, regurgitation of people's vomits. Who wrote the speeches for you? And you sit down and do nothing, yet demanding 300% salary increase, and you do nothing for the people.
Nothing.
You up there, them up there bragging, people still living under tents. Eh?
It's true.
So how you come bragging about what you're going to do for education? You can't even pronounce education properly. Eh? Christopher Brown, I hold my hat up to you, Christopher Brown.
Yes, hats off.
I hold my hat up to you, my brother.
Hats off.
Mark Golden did choose very good, competent, capable people.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's
They have some on the other side. Them in a parliament must be going 10 years now. And nobody ever hear a presentation from them.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Nothing
Nobody.
of substance. It's madness, man. Madness.
Some of them in there never stood up and say anything.
That's true.
I never heard Rhoda Crawford mouth opening parliament yet. Juliet Cuthbert, all she do is chew crap in her mouth. She have no sense, because last year, you know, when I thought she was despicable at their, when they were having the campaign meetings last year, and this girl gonna stand up and talk about Mr. Golden. She can't even walk near Mr. Golden dirty shoes.
True.
And come talk about white man and this and the devil knows what. Listen, let me tell Jamaicans, my fellow Jamaicans, something. The reason we are in the Caribbean and South America, all of us black people, is because of black man criminality and cruelty. So wanna stop blaming white people, because white people have done you nothing wrong. First blame is going to go to the black people in Africa who gathered us up and sold us into slavery. Remember that.
My God.
Remember that much when I'm going to court. I see Andrew out to enslave we again. So remember that much. No white man put no chain pound. A black man do it. So when you come into cuss out Mark Golden, you think first before you say anything. The one we call him Master Mark in a parliament a couple of years ago, 3 years or years ago, he is in Washington, D.C. bowing his damn knee to white people right now. So, stop, are fresh with one Jamaican, and when you go a foreign, this is what I want to tell you. When you go to foreign, the whole want to kiss up to white people, and if they go the heaviest burden, you say yes, Bucky Master, and do it because you love the green paper, the green money. So stop cuss out Mark Golden. Stop, leave Mark Golden alone. And to Miss Babsy Granger, let me tell you something. You cannot walk in my sister Nikisha Burchell's shoes. I don't know where you get your education from, but you are a Tutsi and an enabler to Andrew Holness. And your background is not good. I saw a clip this morning where you're in a complaint about Michael Manley lock you up. Them they have in some gun court or something, I don't remember where. But listen, girl, leave Nikisha Burchell alone because you're not classy. You are an enabler. You and Muma Coe, Juliet Holness, and the one with the tough head one with name what's your name again? The athlete one, the whole and Kamina Johnson for your head favor foul lateness in on top of it. Leave Nikisha Burchell alone. I was waiting to come for the whole I was waiting to come for the whole Leave Nikisha Burchell alone. She's a woman and she's a young woman brought up properly by her parents who are God-fearing parents. When you don't come from nowhere and I bend on your knee and I worship Andrew Holness when you come from nowhere like yourself. When you go away. Thank you, Perry.
All right, bless you, caller.
I bored the whole lot of them out them coming out for this woman because she speaks her truth. Who is Juliet Holness? He's a crap.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, man, you too. I hear somebody say they're reading out the ICE investigations. Is that true? Hold on, let me see something here.
meeting of the House, I will move the Honorable Xavier Main, Honorable Donovan Williams, Honorable Tova Hamilton, Mr. Dwayne Smith, Mr. Julian Robinson, Mr. Dennis Gordon, and Mrs. Heather Miller Bennett to sit jointly with a committee to be appointed by the Senate to consider and report its findings to the House of Representatives on a bill entitled An Act to Establish a Regulatory Framework for Shared Communities to allow oversight by the Real Estate Board for the use of and operation of community common property, to provide for the regulation, the rights and obligations of the proprietors and connected matters. Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which was given.
Question and answers to questions. Motion that may be made at the commencement of public business require notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the House. Motion for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Public business.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the standing order be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
The question is that the motion, notice of which the minister gave earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we return at 6:30. If we miss anything with the Integrity Commission report, be sure that we'll cover it later on. But we have to end this live. We're already over 2 hours because we had to listen to Dr. Dayton Campbell and Christopher Brown. We're gonna take a break. We come back at 6:30 p.m. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you though for sticking and staying with Clarion Call. It was a special one this afternoon. Really proud of our MPs, Dr. Dayton Campbell. Of course, we expected to hear his experience in his presentation. But of course, the new MP, Christopher Brown, it was really refreshing to hear him. And it was such a solid display of potential from Mr. Christopher Brown. See you at 6:30 p.m. Alright, if anybody asks me where I'm at 6, just tell them we join at 6:30. Alright? See you later.
When the midday sun is leaning low and the city finds its voice, every story starts to flow, every heart gets a choice. From the corners to the main street line, every whisper turns to sound. There's a space and there's a time for your truth to come around. No matter where you're standing, no matter who you are, distance, it can travel near and far. This is your clarion call. Let it rise, let it fall.